What to look for in a construction contract. Are you a field engineer and somebody handed you a contract and said, "Here, look through this and tell me what's wrong with it"? That can instill a lot of fear in the eyes of a young construction manager. So what we want to be able to do is go through this episode and show you some of the red flags that you need to look for in a construction contract. What red flags do you see in a construction contract? Are there terms and conditions that you don't like? Can they be negotiated? What is it that you can do as a construction manager in order to ensure that you have the best possible contract in place? So I'll be answering all these questions and show you how you can save thousands on your next project by making sure that you have a complete and thorough construction contract. When you ask yourself, what is a construction contract? The first thing that we need to do is identify 5 primary points that we're going to be looking at. And so the first, again, is going to be scope of work. Understanding what this project is going to be about. We'll develop a master plan, an overall view of everything that's expected in this project. We're then going to understand budget and time, and we're going to have a clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities of everyone on the team for this project. Then we can refine things just a bit in those terms and conditions that kind of shape the project the way that we want to be able to administer it. But what are some of those red flags that we're going to be looking for in a construction contract? First and foremost, we want to make sure that each of the components of those 5 points has been addressed. We want to be able to identify what cost is going to be attributed to the delivery of the project. We want to understand, is the time going to be seen in days or working days? And what does that mean? What is the difference between the two? What's the very last day of the construction schedule? That day could set off in your terms and conditions penalties or what we call liquidated damages. So who's to say exactly what the last day of the project is if the time says that there's 217 days and we haven't determined when the first day starts? So being able to identify some of these red flags is going to be important in using this contract as a tool to manage your project. Now, some other things that we want to be careful about when designing a construction contract is being very careful with general topics or general terms. We want to be as specific and detailed as we can. Let's say black and white. We want it to be clear. We want it to have a definite side that it's going to be on so that when we start talking with the contractor about their requirements and the criteria they're facing in the contract, this is something that we want clearly delineated to them. These implications of unclear terms can end up costing a project thousands and in some cases millions of dollars. So being able to understand what happens when you don't have a clear contract is going to give you the confidence to be a little bit nitpicky in some of those reviews that you're doing. Sometimes people will pass up and say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and let that through. That's not a big deal. But in the long term of things, we have to recognize that even the smallest things can end up hurting the progression of our project. So make sure that you understand that if you're giving up something in your contract negotiations, that you're able to justify how you're going to be moving forward if that doesn't go the way that you planned. One of the things that I like to do is to make sure that I have included the lawyer who's going to be defending that contract. Nothing's worse than getting a contract that has already gone awry and then asking your lawyer to protect you from it. The first thing that you want to do is get your lawyer on the same page as the construction contract that you're working with, because they have to have confidence that they're going to be able to defend everything that it is that you have in that contract. So it's easy to believe that because a contract is one of the first action items taken in building a project, that it's one of the first things that you develop. But really, in order to have a complete and concise contract, we want to make sure that we know the project scope, which means that our specifications and our contract drawings are in a completion that is going to be satisfactory to us in moving forward. So usually in a 40 to 60% completion, we can have a very clear understanding of the scope of work and be able to start generating a contract that is going to align with all of the components that we expect to receive within our construction project. Have you ever wondered where they came up with terms and conditions and why that's necessary? It's probably because something went wrong in the last project. So there's always an underlining agenda to much of what goes on in a contract, and someone is trying to protect themselves from something that happened before. So if you're going to be looking at this contract and looking for these red flags and really trying to identify what you need to have in place for your successful construction project, then we want to make sure that we're not just looking at a past problem, but we're looking at the potential resolution that this term and condition is putting in place in order for us to be able to move our project forward successfully. When you're looking at these red flags in the contract, identify specific evidence of what happened in the past and why that was an issue, what was wrong with the contract at that point in time, and whether or not there is more that you could do to be able to correct that happening in the future. We can always negotiate better terms, but we usually realize that at the end of the project. I was actually talking with a superintendent the other day who was just like frustrated and saying, what is it that I can do to negotiate better terms in the contract? By the time I get out to the job site, there are things that have put in place that I no longer have control over that could end up improving or impacting my project. And so this is why when you're reviewing a project, don't do it in a box. Don't do it yourself. You have to be able to have the perspective of others who have been through these similar situations. So having your superintendent look at the contract is going to be an excellent way to get a new perspective. You might have to pull him or her screaming and dragging in, but it's still going to give them the opportunity to have input into the contract and how it impacts their means and methods of how they perform work out on the job site. One of the biggest red flags that you have to be aware of when you are looking and reviewing a contract is knowing who is the authorized signator. Is this person signing the contract even capable of being the person who we are going to take to court if this contract is not met? What is going to happen? Just having anyone sign the contract is not acceptable. You need to make sure that the individuals signing the contract are the ones who are legally responsible and can commit to the obligations of a contract. So these are just some red flags that you might want to look at when you are reviewing your construction contracts. One of the things that we would hope we don't have to worry about, but we have to keep an eye out for, are some of those hidden traps in a contract. Now, these are things that maybe in the moment don't seem very important, or that we just don't really know the underlying agenda, and so we don't pay a lot of attention to it. No one ever stopped anyone from asking questions. So to ask questions about why something is in a contract or why it's been put in there for what reason, they can always say no, but at least being able to ask the question gives you a better understanding of why that is in the contract. So, are you ready to have a contract with me? With Construction Management Online, we offer an education platform that is made for contractors by contractors. I have significant experience in the construction industry, being a laborer, an equipment operator, all the way through a project manager, and now as a college professor. And I know what it takes in order to be able to help take you to the next level of your construction management career. Check in the description below and you can hit on that link, and I would love to be able to be your mentor in your construction management career.